PK in the universe, and I am back again with another video. And today I'm here to talk about the closure of the Xbox 360 store. Okay, so this store has been around for like 18 years. From what I understand, the games that were on here that are backwards compatible with Xbox One and Xbox Series will still continue to be sold, I guess, but the games on here, I guess, will no longer, the store playing it on the Xbox 360 that I have up here will not work anymore. So I want to give my quick thoughts on that. You know, what do I think about that? It might surprise you. It might surprise you. If you guys have followed the channel long enough, you know I made a bunch of videos talking about the Wii U eShop closing. And I think that's a very different situation. I really do. First of all, the Wii U eShop has first-party Nintendo games, a lot which never made it to the Nintendo Switch. In fact, I made a video a while back called 10 Wii U games never coming to the Switch that, by the way, at the time of this recording still holds up. Those games still have not made it to the Switch and may never make it to the Switch. So, and I feel like there was a lot of, games that were specifically designed with the gamepad, and the same can be said with the 3DS, the 3DS eShop. Those games were really unique and specific to those systems. Whereas the Xbox 360, is the quintessential, this is a game console, with no frills, no unique gimmicks or anything. And a lot of these games, like I said, are on Xbox One and Xbox Series. And a lot of these games, that you could buy digitally have been remastered or available other places, such as Steam. So there's a lot of people who might be like, I gotta buy every Xbox 360 game I can get. And I'm like, first of all, don't panic. Because, again, a lot of these might be games that are on Xbox One and Xbox Series or remastered. Or, better yet, go check out Steam. Just go check out Steam, man. I mean, you can play your Steam games with an Xbox One or Series controller anyways. So, yeah, I feel like people might be making more out of this than there is. And at the end of the day, folks, yeah, the thing that concerns me, too, is games that were on 7th gen systems that never made it to 8th and 9th gen. But again, a lot of those games were on Steam, and it was the same with the Wii U. There were a lot of Wii U games I remember seeing that's like, oh yeah, these were on other consoles, like even PlayStation 3 as well, which still has an active store at the time of this recording because Sony reversed course. That could change, though. That could change by, the time you're watching this video. But at the end of the day, folks, I do think it's, hysteria. Like I talked about a while back, when games were being delisted on the Xbox, I said, that's hysteria, And to an extent it is, because a lot of those games were available. Now, I did, later on, after making that video, I went and bought Daytona USA, funny enough. Because I was like, you know what? This might actually be kind of fun to play on Xbox, and I've heard it's the best version of that version. So I was like, you know what? Whatever. It's easy, it's convenient. And I think that's why a lot of people like buying games on consoles is because it's easy, it's convenient. You buy it and it works. It doesn't matter what your computer is, or like I have a computer, obviously, and it's a pretty newer computer. I guess I bought it in the last year or two, and obviously games like, Castle of Illusion, which is showing right here. Obviously that game works. In fact, I bought it for like $4 or whatever. I had gotten it on some kind of Steam sale a while back. And, it's regular price here, but here's the thing, eventually I won't be able to buy games from this store anymore. But that's just kind of how it is. It's an 18-year-old store. How long is Microsoft supposed to keep this store open? Here's the problem with legacy consoles. And it was the same problem with the Wii U. And the same problem with the Wii. These stores are ancient, and the security has to continuously be updated. You can't just stick with the security you had from 18 years ago. Hackers will hack in and get right in there. And people have their PayPal accounts connected. They have their credit cards connected to these things. You have to have good security, because if you don't, people are going to hack in. And remember there was that big hack in like 2009, 2010 with Sony. I remember I had a PS3 at the time. I'm being really irritated because I thought the PS3 store is never going to come back up. It was crazy. I remember it took forever, but yeah, so that's a concern, the security aspect of, so they have to keep updating the security. After a while, they're going to get tired of updating the security. And here's the thing, again, like I said before, with the Wii U, people were actively still making games for that, within weeks of the shop closing. With that entire year, there were still people making games for Wii U and 3DS. Nobody's been making games for 360 for years. Like, can you name somebody who's developing an Xbox 360 game off the top of your head without Googling it? You probably can't. You probably cannot. So, yeah, if people are upset and angry about this, I think it's kind of irrational, personally. The Xbox 360 is a great console, you know? I mean, it's incredibly versatile. You know, it's been around for a long time and it's really stood the test of time. Now, are there exclusive games for Xbox 360? Oh, definitely. But how many of them are really historically significant? I think a lot of people, every time a eShop or a store closes down, everybody has the same thing. It's like, but preservation, guys, but preservation. And I think what people really mean is access. You know, it's easy access. That easy access to those digital games will be lost. And funny enough, it's always from people too, who will be like, this is why I only buy physical. Well, if you only buy physical, why would you care about a digital store closing down? You know, it's like people can't seem to reconcile the two things, you know, and I think there's a difference between personally historically significant and actual historically significant. Well, I'll give you guys an example. I'll give you a quick example. When I was in college, I went to college for 4 years, and one of the cool things was I got to actually look at these archives, and they were the archives of like the Revolutionary War. You know, there's really specific ones. These aren't the ones you can kind of like find on the internet. They're like specific letters of historical figures. And you can't find these on the internet. They're behind a paywall, basically. You have to have access to this particular archive. And those are historically significant. Now, my great-grandfather was a German immigrant. He immigrated from Germany, but actually that Germany is now France. Actually, that's no longer Germany. He immigrated before the First World War, and he actually fought for America on America's side in the First World War. And his brother fought for the Kaiser. You know, and their greatest fear was they would meet and have to, you know, kill each other, basically, you know. And fortunately, my great-grandfather and his brother both got to go home at the end of the war alive. Now, for me personally, that's historically, personally significant to me. But that is not historically significant to anybody, really, but me. And I think that's one of the things with gaming preservation that's confusing, really, to me, is like there's so many people who just have this mindset that every single game in existence needs to be saved because they all potentially could be historically significant. But that's not reality. That is not reality. There are some games that are neat and are novelties and are unique and I think are worth saving for that reason, for the reason that they're unique, but not because they're historically significant or that they absolutely, you know, would be a travesty if gaming never saw this game again, you know, or if it disappeared. Because at the end of the day, it wouldn't, you know. It's like you don't know what you don't know. And how many games that are worth a darn haven't already been preserved in some way, shape, or form? Whether it's through archivists, whether it's through its pirates, you know. Pirates will always be pirating everything because pirates gonna pirate, you know. And yeah, so at the end of the day, it's really not the end of the world. My advice to anybody who is thinking, oh man, I gotta buy these games on Xbox 360, my advice to you is either go to Steam and see if that game isn't on Steam, because it might very well be, or even if you have, or go on GOG, you know, Good Old Games. Good Old Games, of course, is DRM-free content. I just talked about the importance of digital DRM-free content in my most recent video. And yeah, I just think at the end of the day, folks, this is not as big of a deal to me personally as the Wii U and eShop closing down, just because of how unique those games played on the Wii U gamepad. Or the 3DS is the same way. You know, there were games that were only ever on 3DS and may never be ported because of the nature of how they were designed, and maybe, or simply the developer or publisher has no interest in, you know, and it's going forward with different games. Where I don't feel like the Xbox 360 is like that at all. I feel like there's a lot of games that are everywhere else, you know, for the most part. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this particular topic. I think gaming preservation is an interesting conversation, but I think a lot of times it gets confused with the concept of accessibility more than actually preserving things that are historically significant. Because I don't know who decides what's historically significant. You know, the original Super Mario Brothers is a historically significant game. Little Samson is a rare game and an expensive game. Whether it's historically significant is pretty debatable at this point. It's rare, it's expensive, people want it, it's highly sought after. But that doesn't actually mean it changed gaming or did anything historically significant. It just means people want the game because it's hard to find and it's pretty darn good. So I think there's a lot of differences here, but what are your guys' thoughts? How do you feel about the Xbox 360 shop closing down, Comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Anyways, thank you so much for watching and stay awesome in this universe. Thanks.